Speed skaters, silently gliding across the ice, propelled only by their own muscles. These human bullets hit top speeds of over 35 miles per hour, the fastest man can travel on a level surface purely under his own power. Join us now as the United States Olympic Speed Skating Team reveals the secrets of speed on ice. Speed on ice. Before there was hockey, before there was figure skating, there were contests to determine who was the fastest on ice. And since the inaugural Winter Olympic Games in 1924, the sport of speed skating has proven to be America's most successful event. In fact, the United States has won more Olympic medals in speed skating than any other winter sport. As we approach the 1992 Winter Olympics at Albertville, France, the US Speedskating Team, with corporate sponsorship from Jeep, promises once again to be one of America's best hopes in the race for the gold. In this program, we're going to take you behind the scenes with the US Speedskating Team to uncover their secrets of speed. And to do that, we've turned to some of the fastest men and women on ice. Bonnie Blair, winner of the 500-meter gold medal in 1988. Eric Flame, silver medal winner in the 1500-meter. Dan Jansen, a favorite in both the 500 and 1000-meter. Nate Mills, one of America's most promising young distance skaters. And Nick Tomitz, unofficial world record holder in the 500-meter. Let's begin by comparing a speed skater with an Indianapolis race car. At first, it seems ridiculous. The Indy car is an out-and-out machine that puts its power to the pavement through super sticky race tires. But the modern speed skater works very hard to become a machine, a human machine that puts its power to the ice through razor-sharp skates. The sports seem totally different, yet the secrets of speed are amazingly similar, as Indianapolis 500 champion Emerson Fittipaldi explains.
I can relate a lot the transmission of power we have through our wheels, our tires, and I can see on the ice skating. They are so powerful, they have so much energy coming out of a corner that they have to put properly in a smooth way, but very efficient way, to make sure all that energy goes forward, not sideways. And I think that's one of the keys of achieving the speed and acceleration.
What is the secret of speed on ice? To find out, we first asked two of the smallest members of the team.
I think the secret of technique is different for everybody because everybody has a different body type. I'm a smaller guy than somebody like Dan Jansen, and therefore I have to be very efficient.
There's a lot of girls who are bigger and stronger than I am, so in a sense I have to make up for that within my technique and try to get everything as close to perfect as possible. The efficiency, the power, the strength, everything all has to come together, and it all has to come together at the same time.
Then we asked two of the big guys.
You know, I don't think the size is everything, but if you don't have the size and maybe not the same amount of power as a big person, you have to skate more efficiently. And that's the way you do it. You skate more efficiently, you can go as fast.
Eric and Bonnie are proof of that. You know, they have done great things despite their small size, and they'll be the first to tell you it's because they learned to skate efficiently. I mean, they had to skate, because they were smaller, they had to skate more efficiently than anyone else out there.
The secret? Not raw power, but efficiency.
Pound for pound, I have just as much power, I think, as some of the bigger guys. And I have less wind resistance, less frontal resistance. People have said to me, boy, you're awfully small to be a speed skater. I said, well, I'm small enough to be world champion.
Just how efficient a machine is the modern speed skater? Well, consider, an Olympic swimmer moves through the water at just 4 to 5 miles per hour. A rower tops out at about 10 to 11 miles per hour. To break the 4-minute mile, a runner must average over 15 miles per hour. The world's fastest sprinters max out at 23 miles per hour. A speed skater, on the other hand, can leave them all in the dust.
I think it's been calculated out that girls probably go in the neighborhood 28, 30 miles an hour, and guys, I believe, somewhere between 30, 34 miles an hour. So we get going pretty fast considering we're on a flat surface. I guess it's kind of amazing to think, maybe when you're driving in a car and you look down at your speedometer and think, gosh, I can move this fast on my skates. It just kind of seems bizarre.
To hit speeds like this, the human machine must first be tuned to perfection. For by today's standards, it's a rather anemic power plant. Let's go back to our IndyCar comparison. A state-of-the-art Indianapolis motor weighs about 350 pounds, yet produces over 700 horsepower. A state-of-the-art human motor weighs about 150 pounds, yet it puts out a meager 2/3 of a horsepower, less than an ordinary lawnmower. With such limited power to propel him, how does the speed skater retain such outstanding performance? It begins with carefully testing the human motor for efficiency.
There are two important bits of data that they get from our testing. One is our VO2 max, which tells you a little bit about how much oxygen your body can intake and use. And the other is called a lactate profile, and it tells that when your muscles are working hard, you burn glycogen. That's the energy source for your muscles. And the waste product from that is lactate. So if you can have a high lactate reading, that means that you're burning a lot of glucose and you have an efficient machine.
Through testing, sports physiologists have discovered that the human machine can be carefully tuned to perform at maximum efficiency.
For the summer is just basically tuning the machine that you've got, increasing the amount of air you can intake at once and increasing the power in your legs. And we keep it pretty closely monitored. Every couple months we'll test our VO2 and we'll take lactates regularly throughout the year when we're dry training or on ice. And you get a kind of a running chart of what your fitness is, and it's always nicer if you can see it yourself, on a graph or even in the weight room, making the increases.
Next, putting the power to the ice. For the speed skater to achieve speeds of 35 miles per hour, he must not only use muscle power, he must use some high-tech tools as well. The first is a skate designed especially for speed, called simply the speed skate.
Well, the speed skate, basically, opposed to a hockey or figure skate, of course, the blade is longer. Normal speed skate blade will be about 16 or 17 inches long. Speed skating is all about balance. It's about shifting your center of gravity from one side of the blade to the other, and the thinner blade allows you to do this much easier. It's hard to tell by looking at a blade, but there's a gentle, what we skaters call a rock to the blade, and it's skaters are very, very sensitive to what the radius of the blade is, and a rounder skate will allow you to pivot more, and the flatter one, which is generally used for sprinting, allows you to get a little more torque into the blade.
To achieve maximum penetration through the air, speed skaters cover themselves with aerodynamic skin suits. How much do they help?
Every little bit helps. One of the things that we're working against the most is the wind. We've got to fight against that wind, and that's why we're in that position with one arm or both arms behind our back, and we're low and our head is down. You're talking about hundredths of a second, and any advantage that you can get, you take.
It's like a race car. A race car is not going to go into the Indy 500 with his fins on the back pointed up. He's going to be as aerodynamic as possible, and if a skin takes off 1/100th of a second off your time over 500 meters, then that can be a difference. Races are won by 1/100th of a second all the time.
The start. The skater is crouched, skate up, waiting for the gun. But why in that funny position?
Well, the idea of being in that funny crouch position when we're on the starting line is that you want to be as close as possible to the stroke that you're going to do when the gun goes off. There's nothing wasted. If you were to be standing up and the gun were to go off, you'd have to get down and then go through your position. So basically with our foot up and our arm like that, as soon as the gun goes, it takes a split second and we're off and skating.
Once the gun goes off, the key to victory lies in the first 100 meters.
I think one of the things that we've kind of found out in the last couple of years is maybe not running the first 100 is so important, as in trying to get in your correct skating position and be skating to a certain extent as soon as possible instead of running the first 100. A first couple of quick steps, and then you want to be skating as soon as possible.
The first 100 meters and the 500 meters is very critical. The 500 is very short, you know, and people are skating the 100 meters now in 9.6, 9.7. That's very fast, and it's hard if you can't skate that fast to make it up in the other 400 meters.
For me, it's very important to have a good 100 meters, and I think it is for the top 5, 6 guys who really have a chance to win. I think when people see us on TV, we make it look a lot easier than it is.
Now let's go back and watch Bonnie Blair make it look easy, winning the 500-meter gold medal in the 1988 Olympics.
You know, I think technically skaters have gotten better, more efficient, and we've just learned that, you know, especially for the sprint events, the lower you can get, the more extension you can get of your legs, the faster you're going to be able to go. That is, if you can move things quick enough that way.
The American secret of speed, the corners.
I think the Americans are always noted for their really good corners. We do most of our program. We come from short track skating, from indoor skating. So all the skaters have skated on the small tracks, and they know how to skate a very good corner.
For my race, I'm best at the corners, and that's probably due to when I was young, I skated a lot of short track skating, which is inside a hockey rink. And for the most part, most of the skaters here have done the same thing.
How do they do it? American coach Peter Mueller explains.
Generating speed, not losing speed in the corner, being able to accelerate through the corner and not just maintain the speed that you've generated on the straightaway. And I think that's one of the strong suits of the American skaters. Most of the Russians, for example, they try to generate speed on the straightaways, but the Americans relax on the straightaways and work a real hard corner and generate speed on the corner.
Like Indy car drivers, US speed skaters take an exacting line through the corners.
It's very strategic how you go into a corner, because that's going to rule how you're going to come out of the corner. You're trying to hold as tight a line as possible, so you're going less distance, but in a 500 meter, if you have the last inner track, it's very difficult because you're going at such high speed. You're trying to go into it wide, so you're swinging out wide, and then by the apex of the turn, you're pretty much on the blocks, and then just try and hold on coming out of the corner. Usually that second half of the corner, from the apex to the finish of the corner, is where you get your acceleration or the speed, or you could call it a whip out of the turn.
You know, it's so automatic now for us. For me, it's hard to describe. I mean, it's crossing your right foot over your left is the basics of it, but there's so much more that goes into it. Your left hip has to be in toward the turn. Your body has to be directly over your knee to get the most push out of your left leg. And then when you cross your right leg over, your body has to be over your right leg to get the most push out of that leg. And so there's really a lot that goes into it.
The 1500 meter. This event used to be thought of as a distance race, but today's highly tuned skaters treat it more like a sprint.
In the 1500 meters, it's very important to get off the gun, off the mark very fast. So the first 300 meters is what we call the opener. I'd open up very hard for the first 200 meters, and then I'd throw one arm up on my back, get relaxed, settle into a rhythm. Okay, then on my first lap, I'm just thinking about being relaxed, keeping up my tempo, and just keeping it nice, keeping the stride nice. I'll come around, say I start on the outer, I'll come around the second corner, and I'll switch over to the inner. Now I'm coming up on 2 to go, and my strategy for this lap is to build the corners. So I'm setting it up nice and wide, and as I go in, I'm thinking nice and low, keeping my hips even with the corner, and just coming out accelerated. So I'm switching, I'm going over to the outside track now, I'm coming up on 1 lap to go, and for the last lap, your strategy is basically build the whole thing, 100% effort, all the way to the finish. So I'm coming off the outer, I'm finishing up on the inner, I'm getting tight right on those blocks because I want to skate the shortest distance possible, and I'm driving, I'm putting both arms down, coming down the final 100 meters, and driving right across the line. Just putting that skate out and stopping the clock as soon as I can.
The distance races, 5,000 and 10,000 meters. Here, the technique is different. The human machine must be maximized for the long haul.
Mostly the longer races are all about conserving energy, being efficient, of course, in your stroke, but you've really got to conserve energy. In a 500, 1,000, or even 1,500, the sprint distances, you don't want to save anything. From the gun, it's pretty much as fast as you can go. In the long ones, 5,000 and 10,000, it's all about being patient at the beginning, the first kilometer or two, really saving your energy and a nice relaxed technique, and it's got to come easy. I'm sure the Indy 500 drivers realize it's a very long race, and sometimes, even if your car's running well in the beginning, you might want to kind of back off a little and save some energy for the end, and that's what skating is. And in speed skating, it'd be nice if you got some pit stops going and get the junk out of your legs and then start up again. But it's all about patience, really. Knowing when, and not only knowing how much to back off at the beginning, but knowing exactly when you want to start pouring it on. Sometimes you can pour it on a couple laps too early and you can make the last few laps hell.
Next, tuning up for the Olympics. Preparing the human machine for Olympic competition isn't quite as easy as readying a family car for a vacation trek. The process of getting a skater up to speed begins a year before the games themselves.
Back years ago, just say speed skaters, for instance, they just skated 3 times a week just when the ice rink opened up in the wintertime. Well, now our sport's developed into where you're almost training 11 months out of the year. So you really have to make sure that your body's ready for what you're going to be doing when it's time to be at your best. We do a lot of other what we call dry land training. So we're riding the bike, we're running, we're lifting weights, we're doing a lot of exercises just crouched in that skating position, and there's a lot to it. It's not easy. For me, there's always going to be someone pushing me because I like to train with the guys, so I'm always chasing them.
But with year-round workouts, the speed skater runs the risk of becoming overtrained, as Nate Mills discovered.
I've been training so hard for so many years, and I was getting really frustrated because, you think you train the hardest, you should be the fastest, and it definitely doesn't always work that way. It's who trains the smartest, I think. And I spent a lot of years kind of not listening to my body and just all the time working hard, and probably it was a bit too much. And when I started training with Stan, all he did for me last year really was, say, stop, rest, start resting. And the day I started working with him, I just cut back the volume of my training load immensely and got faster exponentially. And just got faster and faster and found the sprint speed that I never knew I had.
The road to the Winter Olympics. How does a speed skater prepare?
We came up to Calgary now on the 20th of July, and we'll be here till the 8th of August. And we'll be going back to Milwaukee for about 6 weeks of more basic conditioning, and then we'll be heading for Insel, West Germany on the 30th of September. And we'll be staying there until the 22nd of November, skating 2 World Cups in Germany and in Holland, and then we'll be going back to Milwaukee for the Olympic trials.
The Olympic trials. Here the final team will be selected, and here the friendships made throughout training can be severely tested.
Trials are a tense time, and everybody has to worry about themselves. We're working together as a team now because we're all in the same position. and we help each other. But when it comes down to making the team, it's up to you. You don't rely on your teammates.
With this team and with even competitors from the other countries are very good friends of mine. But when it comes down to the races, you want to go out there and you want to win, and that's the way we look at it. It's great to train with a team and to be in a group because it helps for motivation, and it makes it more fun while you're doing a workout. Nick Thomas and I are best friends, but we're also the top 2 guys in the United States, and but I'm happy when he does well, and he's happy when I do well.
Dan and I have a pretty special friendship. We're very close competitors. We've been friends for a long, long time. And I think we've helped each other a lot. Of course, I want to win a gold medal. Dan wants to win a gold medal. We both want to see each other do well.
If I'm skating behind him and I see something he could work on, I definitely tell him, and he does the same. Now that might be a little different with one of the Russians or East Germans, but with Nick, for sure, I would tell him.
Coming up next, the human factor. Machines may be capable of extraordinary performance, but they are designed to perform to exacting specifications and no more. 100% is their limit. Human machines are different. When confronted with a challenge, such as Olympic competition, they are often capable of performing at well over 100%, reaching levels never thought possible in training. What is that special human ingredient that makes this possible?
Well, it's an ingredient that not all people have, and it comes down to, I think, if you have a lot of pride in yourself and what you do, and you really want something, you go after it, and you can push yourself to 140, 150%.
There's a certain feeling, a mental feeling, that you're very relaxed, but you're very pumped up at the same time. It's a very calm feeling. You're very focused, and that's when you have your best race.
I have a very positive attitude, and I think that that's very important, not only in athletics, but in anything that you do in life.
During the best races, it's so easy. You get done with the race and you're not tired, no matter how long the race was, and everything is sort of slow motion. It's just flowing very easy, and it is effortless. It's a great feeling.
I don't know where the motivation comes from. A lot of people say it's heart. It doesn't matter how big your legs are, but how big your heart is. And some people have it. Some people have the desire, the pride, the need to win.